All right, Cherry Falls. Hey, what's up, guys? I suppose you're wondering why I'm kind of dressed up here. I just got invited to the greatest party ever. Cherry Falls stars the late Brittany Murphy, Michael Biehn, Jay Moore, and is directed by Jeffrey Wright. What's up, guys? Welcome to another patron-requested review. This review is for one of my patrons, Stephen Moore. In my Patreon page, if you pledge towards a certain tier, then you can request a review, or a review every month, depending on that tier. So I'm so glad that Stephen requested that I do Cherry Falls. This is the first time I've ever seen this movie, but I had a lot of fun with it, so I'm looking forward to getting into this one. And plus, this is a movie that I see like pop up on Killer Flicks just time and time again. Somebody will say, "Hey, have you guys seen Cherry Falls?" And there's a lot of people that see it, and more times than not, people love it. I ended up enjoying it quite a bit. This will be a spoiler review. Keep that in mind. This is an older movie from the year 2000, so if you haven't seen Cherry Falls, you might want to steer clear of this review. But you know what? Let's jump into the cons. I do that sometimes, right? We'll jump right into the cons. But first, quick plot synopsis. This is a slasher, but I think it's always fun when you have a unique premise with a slasher movie. It just kind of adds to it, and this one does have that. It's kind of the opposite of It Follows. You have to have sex to survive, whereas in It Follows, if you have sex, you die. At the beginning of this movie, we see this couple, they're making out, having sex, and then all of a sudden this guy comes behind them, and he ends up killing one of the guys, played by Jesse Bradford, I think, from Swim Fan. Very small role in this. But quickly, the bodies start piling up, and we realize that these people are all virgins that are getting killed. That's the connective tissue. He even carves the word virgin into their inner thigh. So then the town has a panic on their hands, and they have to plan the greatest party that a teenage boy could ever imagine. You go to the party, you get laid. If you don't get laid at this party, then there's something really wrong with you. But that's later in the movie. We'll get to that. But anyway, like I said, first, let's get into the cons. The biggest con about this movie, and like I said, this is a spoiler review, from the first 10 minutes of the movie, or as soon as Jay Moore showed up, I said, that's gonna be the killer. If they make that the killer, then I'll be shocked, because that guy looks like he's the killer. And sure enough, he was the killer. So this might be the most predictable whodunit ever. But the saving grace of that is after that reveal, it's almost like the filmmakers didn't really care that much for the reveal, because the reveal is kind of bland, He's just got this big crate with the body in it. There's no like big reveal of the twist. It's just, oh, by the way, he's the killer. But, we knew that going in right away, that this guy's the killer. And usually it's not that guy that we point to, but in this case, it was that guy. And that's happened before too, but I don't want to spoil anything, but that's happened with other slashers I've seen too, one or two. Also, at the very end of this movie, there is, after the killer is killed, all of a sudden he does, just like in the movie Scream, where they say it's stupid when the killer makes one last, gasp for breath, and then that's what happens in this movie, and then they shoot him. I hate when they do that. It really is kind of an annoying horror trope. Now, let's get into the good of this movie. First off, the late Brittany Murphy. It saddens me to watch her in this movie, because she was a really great young actress, and I do miss her work. There's been a lot of times in the past few years where a movie will pop up, and I'll say to myself, that would have been really cool if Brittany Murphy would have been in this movie, in that part. So yeah, it was sad, but she was great in this. She's great in everything she does. She's a very convincing leading lady. She's interesting because she's, at the beginning of this movie, she's with her boyfriend Kenny, and obviously a teenage boy's trying to get lucky with his girlfriend, and she doesn't let him. But the one thing I really enjoy about her is her relationship with her father, played by Michael Biehn, who at the end of the movie has that huge revelation that he is the killer's father, which was insane. I like the relationship between them, and he's the chief of police, or the local sheriff, and he teaches her some self-defense, some combat training, and that comes into play later in the movie. It saves her life. So I like when, you know, you kind of build on those parenting relationships with the children. Now, I will say throughout like the first 2/3 of this movie, this is like one of those whodunits where we're putting together the pieces, where we're figuring out the backstory of Laura Lee Sherman, who is the killer in this movie, and why Laura Lee Sherman is doing these killings. And then we find out it's because she was raped by 4 young teenagers, and one of them being Jodie's father. Jodie is Brittany Murphy, by the way. I don't think I said her character name earlier. So that was a big revelation, actually. Up until this point in the movie, I thought this was going to be just kind of your typical slasher film with a unique premise, but completely predictable ending. But no, once that big reveal happens where we find out that she was raped by 4 guys, and one of them being Jodie's father, then I was like, oh, okay, this is crazy. And then from this point on, it never lets up. That 3rd act gets really crazy. And I love that scene where Jay Moore goes into the room and everybody's having sex, and he just yells out, "Class dismissed."
It's Mr. Marlinson, he's a killer! Class dismissed!
I literally laughed out loud during that scene. I love when there's a scene like that in horror movies. The last time I remember something like that happening was in Scream, when he, you know, says, "I'll be right back." This was one of those types of movies. I love when slasher movies don't take themselves too seriously, and this one doesn't do that. It's just, you're there for a really good time. That's what you're gonna have with Cherry Falls, a really good time. Also, Jay Moore does a really good job in this, actually. He is a comedian by trade. I believe he did some time on SNL or something like that. I could be wrong. I just know that he has a comedic background. He's really funny. And he was in a movie called Go, which isn't like a straight up comedy. It's more of like a dark comedy. Go is fantastic though. And he was one of the characters in that, and very memorable. Same here. He actually gives a damn good performance. You know, just completely goes apeshit at the end of the movie. I love when he leaves Jodie and her father, which was kind of stupid, by the way. But, you know, he goes outside and Jodie's boyfriend's at the door, and he's just like right there face to face with him, pretty much putting his cards on the table. But, you know, his performance was just really psychotic and crazy. But guys, in the end, I'm definitely going to give Cherry Falls a purchase worthy. This was a fun movie, and I would recommend picking up the Scream Factory release. I'm going to buy that myself, actually. A worthy addition to anyone's slasher collection. And this is one of those like early 2000s slashers, kind of like Valentine, which are nice. Anyway, guys, what are your thoughts on Cherry Falls? Looking forward to hearing them. Also, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks. Crazy. Just today, Chris Duran, who played Michael Myers in H2O, joined Killer Flicks. And it's insane. And I'll go ahead, you know, the elephant in the room is that I just reviewed H2O. I did H2O Revisited, and I stated that Chris Duran is my least favorite Michael Myers. Cards on the table again. I said that. But having said that, if you are a member of the Halloween family, if Wendy Kaplan, who plays Tina, joined Killer Flicks, I'm not worthy. She is a member of the family, the Halloween family, and I would be completely ecstatic. And plus, keep in mind, these people, they are given lines or they're directed to do certain things in these movies, you know? So I can't fully blame somebody that I don't like in a movie. It might not be their fault. But outside of that too, I'm ecstatic that Chris Duran, this is huge, has joined Killer Flicks. This is insane to me. So make no mistake, this is not awkward for me at all. This is fucking awesome. And if you want to join Killer Flicks, you probably would want to by now. We are almost 6,000 members. We just keep growing. I love my mods. You guys are awesome. Dylan, Leela, my admins are fantastic. We have such a great group. So anyway, guys, I'm rambling. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and Drumdum out.